These last two are the ones that will hurt me the most. Unfortunately, it might get gory out here. It might get ugly. Because next we're going to talk about Happy Place, Emily Henry. Y'all need to put some respect on my girl Emily's name, but clearly we are about to receive the exact opposite of that. So let's dig in. I was so irritated with this book. I basically hate read it. So you kind of liked it. Like, the opposite of hate is indifference. So like you had strong feelings for this book. So I'm willing to say you didn't actually hate it. Anyways, so much eye rolling, so much miscommunication. These characters are so idiotic with their decisions and ideas of love / romance. Okay, you're hating on like my characters right now. You are hating on my family. Okay? Sorry that you see love differently than our characters. Like, they're doing the best they can. They're doing the best they can. The friend group is also stupid, and the way everyone treats each other is terrible. I'm sorry you don't have friends. Genuinely, I'm sorry you don't have a friend group. I ate this up because of this friend group. I was like, I want to be here with them. It's okay, not everyone wants friends. Ugh. Definitely the worst rom-com I've read and the worst Emily Henry book so far. I mean, clearly you got 244 likes, so people like agreed with you, but it ain't me. Like, these characters just spoke to me, and that's where I am. Not my happy place. You know, like, you get points for that. That's fine, that's fine. It's definitely my happy place. And I hope someday you find a place that is your happy place. A huge disappointment. I don't think I like second chance romance or whatever this was. Okay, that's fine. Like, this trope wasn't for you. I love second chance romance. That is my journey. So you're on your own journey. Number 2, aren't all these people incredibly boring, especially the main character? I think these people are like real people. Like, do you just not like real people? That's what I get from this, is like people don't want to read like realistic characters or realistic situations. Like, you want to be in a fantasy land, then don't pick up romance, then don't pick up modern fiction. Okay, our final review. People have not hurt my feelings so far with this book, so we'll see how this last one does for me. I never do this, but I'm about to go in on this book, so here we go. Oh, this one might be the one that hurts my feelings. This book was awful. Almost 400 pages of straight miscommunication. That's life. Like, I know everyone wants to go on and on and on about how they hate the miscommunication trope. That's real life. Like, you just hate it because you probably have experienced it. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. Are you really trying to tell me that Harriet and Wynne, who are 30 years old and were together for 10 years, can't communicate about their mental health? Are you kidding me? No, I think that's true. I think people do that for 20 years. I think people do that for 30 years. I think you're so blessed if you look at that and you're like, how could they do this? You know what I mean? Because I feel like that does happen. Even the friends can't communicate. Again, they've been friends for 10 years and can't be straight up. My best friends, who are all men. Okay, girl, I like how you dropped in that pick me statement. Can communicate better than these 3 women. All of these people need therapy. Now, that's probably true, but I do feel like this is like real 30-year-olds probably all need therapy. So I think we're all on that page together. Her talking about her happy place the entire time got old so fast. Miss Girl, grow up. Oh my gosh, who hurt you? Like, she loves this vacation with her friends. Like, maybe if you and all your male friends went on a trip together, you would be happy too. You would talk about it all day too. None of the jokes in this book were funny, and honestly, most of the scenes with Wes and Harriet, did we just change names? Were cringy and hard to read. His name's Wynne. Who's Wes? Who is Wes? Who is Wes? Anyways, I love Emily Henry books, but this was so utterly disappointing and painful to get through. If this wasn't a library book, it'd be going in the trash. That's a little dramatic. We shouldn't be throwing away our books. You should be giving them away, respectfully. Let's move on, because like the way I could go in, we won't though. We're gonna move on. We are gonna head into the reviews for the final book of the video, and this book, it takes up the most room in my heart. This book is my favorite of all. So if you thought I had been mean already in this video, you should be really worried about how I'm gonna feel about these final reviews for Normal People by Sally Rooney. Without further ado, I mean, we should just dig in. Without further ado, we should really just get after it here. I would frankly like to slap every single person who insists on comparing Sally Rooney to Jane Austen. Kindly get Austen's name out of your damn mouths, you freaks. Strong opener. Immediately a strong opener. I've never compared the two. I don't know that that's necessary, so that's fair. I would also like to know what the people who call this book a romance, an elegant love story, are smoking. Is it crack? Because what the fuck? This is a coming of age story. This is about real love affairs. I wouldn't say it's like a romance. I wouldn't say it's a romance either. This is one of the most overrated books I've ever read. It's painfully pretentious, gimmicky, and try hard. No. She's dealing with real stuff here, and she like calls out the pretentiousness. Like she calls to it. It's like it's like aware of itself. So I think that means it's none of those things. It's a self-aware story. The book has no plot. Okay, well, if you were looking for a plot and not a character-driven story, it is true that you came to the wrong place. It is basically a series of snapshots of the world's most boring relationship between two of the most boring, navel-gazing, and pretentious people to ever exist. What? All these people care about is sounding highly intellectual. This involves paying lip service to communism while living on your family's money and never working a day in your life. Okay, like that's the point though. It's like college is pretentious. Like she is putting these pretentious conversations and situations in here on purpose. Like you saw that and you were right and you were supposed to. Like these characters are not supposed to be 100% likable. They're not. They have an on-off relationship because they're full of boring hang-ups and they keep cheating on their current partners during the off months. That's basically it. That's the book. I mean, I don't think their hang-ups are boring. I think they are very real situations that do keep people apart. That's basically it. That's the book. It goes nowhere and no one grows up. Sang it, sister, preach. Nobody grows up. That's real. There are no side plots to speak of, nor secondary characters with more depth than a puddle. Yeah, because it's about them. It's about Marianne and Connell. Like, I'm sorry if you cared about, like, I didn't need anybody else. They were enough for me. Just look elsewhere. It's just not me. What's that TikTok sound that is like, just count me out. Just count me out because, like, you and we're just on different wavelengths, clearly. I understand why people hate this now. Okay? The way it dealt with certain topics was so disagreeable. Some things that were said absolutely shocked me. I wasn't expecting much from this book, but I was expecting it to analyze things in a more realistic way. I hate how this was executed. I hope we elaborate on how we didn't feel it was realistic, because I felt like it was quite realistic. The characters sucked. They're not 100% likable. They aren't. Connell was going through anxiety and Marianne was going through abuse. Both were written terribly and not at all accurate to real life experiences. Like, have you experienced every real life scenario? Writer? Reviewer, have you? Because, like, I am not going to claim to have experienced all these things, and I think these are realistic takes on those situations. The stereotype of anxiety and abuse is a lot different from what people actually go through, and they shouldn't be held in the first place. Okay. The way such serious topics were portrayed in the book was awful. I think like what you're saying is like what you've experienced wasn't represented in this book is kind of like the take I'm getting, because I think there are lots of perspectives, lots of experiences within these topics, and like maybe like you didn't see your situation. Neither character was developed enough. I wish I could have known more about them besides the fact that they are insanely horny and have completely demented views on certain topics. Connell and Marianne are two ignorant, dumb cardboard boxes. Maybe even worse. Worse than a cardboard box? What could that be? I think I'd enjoy spending my time with a cardboard box more than any of the characters in this book. I mean, I think that's fair. I don't think this book is written for you to enjoy the characters. Like, I think for some reason we feel like we need to love all characters, and I don't think that's true. Okay. We'll just move on. We'll move on. And that's totally fair that you felt that way. I'm just not sure that we picked up what was being thrown out by the book. So, moving forward. If this is one of the best romance books, and Connell and Marianne are the definition of soulmates, then maybe I don't need any romance or soulmate in my life. May this love never find me. I totally get where you're coming from. I'm fine with staying single than having what they had in this book. I don't think you're supposed to feel envious of their relationship, in my opinion. This book was so boring and nonsense and left me feeling miserable, irritable, and angry. At least it made you feel something. Come on now. I'm left astonished to see that this book is viewed as a real, heartfelt, and deeply moving love story instead of a problematic and toxic one. I'm just gonna like blanket statement for this book. I do not think that you are supposed to want the romance in this book. I don't think you're supposed to love these characters. I feel for these characters like deeply, but they feel like real people. It's not like they're flawless humans. I don't think you're supposed to see their situation as not toxic or like unproblematic. It fully is those things. Like everyone's running up and down about Magnolia Parks. Like this is of not the same vein. I think this is a much more elevated version of that, but we're talking about like abusive, toxic, problematic situations. How can one ignore the humiliation, abuse, and ambivalence and think of it as something romantic? And please don't tell me that they are flawed and unlikable characters. Sorry, ma'am, I should have finished your review before saying this. And please don't tell me that they are flawed and unlikable characters who make mistakes over and over again because they're human and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, that's basically what I told you. So I know how flawed Connell and Marianne were, and I would have been okay with them had they at least tried to redeem some of their negative traits. I think you see Connell trying very hard to do that. I think Marianne is like deeper into it, but also like you look at their home lives and how they were brought up, and maybe that's partially why one of them gets help and one of them doesn't, right? Anyways, but they didn't and made everything and everyone around them miserable with their insufferable personalities. Character development, what? Sally only knows how to write her characters as normal people. Yeah, I mean, but I do think that happens a lot. Like, how many people do you know that, like, don't ever change their terrible traits? 'Tis life. 'Tis life. 'Tis life. 'Tis a slice of real life here. And I think that's why it's getting 1-star reviews. Because people don't like to see that reflected back to them. You know what I mean? I checked 3 times to see if there was something wrong with my Kindle copy, only to find out that leaving out quotation marks was intentional. Absolutely unforgivable. Honestly, that's fair enough. I think eventually it adds to the experience of reading it, but I think initially it is jarring. So that's a perfectly reasonable hot take. I didn't even pay for this book, but I feel like I should be entitled to some kind of compensation because of how bad it was. Honestly, speak your truth. Yeah, no, I'm sorry that you felt that way. For sure, feel bad about that. Okay, our last review for our last book, y'all. Are you excited to be done with me? I'm sure you are. While reading at times, I feel like Normal People was almost exploitative, and perhaps it was. Both major characters have their own personal problems. Other characters make small appearances in the book, but they're so thinly sketched, they're not really worth mentioning. Fair. But ultimately, they never grow. Sure, they move to other places and behave in different ways, but it's not growth. It's what the author tells us happened. We've never shown why Marianne is suddenly popular. I mean, I think it's just her education, her upbringing lends herself to being with different crowds, like at that time in her life. So yeah, I think she's considered more popular. But I guess that's fine if that didn't make sense to you. I think she got to go somewhere new where no one had perceptions of her, and I think that also probably helped. And how Connell is a genius, but are instead told that they are. And that's it. Of course, we could have two characters who repeat their mistakes and in the end learn from the failure to progress. But in this novel, these characters are nothing more than puppets on the author's string and behave in inexplicable ways because they're ordered to do so by their master. I guess some of that's can be a fair perspective. I feel like you sat with these thoughts and you thought them out, so I understand where you're coming from. But worst of all, Normal People commits the cardinal sin of all fiction. It's just boring. Sally Rooney delights in describing mundane aspects of Connell and Marianne's life in detail, but lacks to create anything that would make their lives truly interesting and make us want to be a fly on their walls. The book just plods along slowly, very slowly, and those who make it to the end will feel disappointed when they reach a very unsatisfying non-ending. Honestly, that was a well-written review, so claps to you for that review. I will say that it is very much a slice of life book. I think the mundane parts make you feel better about life. It's just their life. You're following it. There's nothing special about them. There's nothing that makes them better than anybody else, which I enjoy. But I can see how you maybe are looking for something more riveting. So that is fair. Y'all, I think the reviews I thought were gonna make me mad didn't make me that mad. And the books that I thought I cared less about, I felt heated during. As always, thank you for sitting here, especially through my copious amounts of ranting. I super duper enjoyed getting to talk to you about these books and getting to see some hot takes on them. A lot of them were funny, a lot of them were thought-provoking. So thank you for going on this ride with me. As I said at the beginning, this was just for fun. I am carrying no ill feelings to anyone who wrote any of these reviews. Thank you for reviewing these books and giving others the opportunity to react and feel things from your reviews. But without further ado, I've been talking your ear off long enough. So with that said, I will see y'all in the next one. Cheers. Aww, you head tilted at me. Well, if I show you the puppy, will y'all forgive me for my hot takes? Here you go. Oh, wow. You can't stay mad at us. Oh, don't pull out my hair or my ears. Okay.